And welcome back once more. This time we have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but this time it is in G. We're going to treat this the same way that we treated C and F major. Let's go to our marking tool, and again, because we have the same drawing with different colors, let's mark this one up in red. I know that what I am doing today does not match what I said last night, doesn't match the exact examples. Sorry if that bothers you. I didn't mean to use blue to start with. So the first thing we want to look at is the distance from our first note here, that G, to the next different melody note, that D above it. So let's come to our keyboard. From G to D, we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a perfect fifth right there from G up to D above it. The next thing we want to look at is our first G in the bass line to the C, this note here on that ledger line, the short little line above the bass clef staff. That is a C. So the distance between the first two bass notes is is G up to C. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is yet another example of a perfect fourth. That looks like the letter D, not P. Perfect fourth here in the bass staff. Let's come on down, look at the last two notes of the bass line. We have that D moving up to this G here. So let's come over to our keyboard. We have to go from D up to G. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So once again, we have a perfect fourth here. And the last thing to look at is the distance from our lowest note in the melody, this G, to our highest note in the melody, that E. Once again, we call this, I should be scrolling, not drawing. We call this the melodic range. Melodic range is the distance from the lowest note to the highest note in a melody. Our lowest note is this G, our highest note is this E. Let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once again, we have a major 6 from G to E. It would be a minor 6 if we had E flat, but we have E natural. So once again, our melodic range equals a major 6, a capital M6. One thing I want to point out, again, with what I'm saying here, capital M6, that represents major sixth. I know I don't have the best writing ever, but another thing I do, aside from capitals and lower cases with intervals, is for major intervals, I make the letter bigger than the number. So major sixth, I write with a big M and a slightly smaller 6. If I want to talk about something like a minor sixth, I would do a lowercase m, which I feel does look different from my uppercase, and I'll also make that 6 bigger. Now that's really exaggerated, but that's the kind of idea. You'll have a lowercase letter and a bigger number, just so that way there's no confusion. I'm going to get rid of these things right here. But once again, we have a melodic range of a major 6. So what's the point of all this? Let me go ahead and show you. Let's go through all 3 examples that we had today. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in C, our first, wow, we have some extra stuff going here because I circled a lot of things. Our first melodic interval from C to G, that's a perfect fifth. In the key of F, the first melodic interval of F to C, that's a perfect fifth. And in G, our first melodic interval, G to D, that's a perfect fifth. All of these are the same. In C, the bass clef first interval is a perfect fourth. In the key of F, we have a perfect fourth in the bass line first interval as well. And in G, we once again have a perfect fourth between the two first notes in our bass line. So all of these 3 things are the same. We have perfect fourths in all cases. The next thing we measured was the distance between the last 2 notes in the bass line. We have G to C, which is a perfect fourth. We have C up to F, which is a perfect fourth. And we have D up to G, which is a perfect fourth. And the last thing we looked at in each one of these was the melodic range, the distance from our lowest note to our highest note. In the key of C, the melodic range is a major 6th. In the key of F, our melodic range is a major 6th. And in the key of G, our melodic range is once again a major sixth. So the point of all this is to show you that with transposition, we have the same drawing, but we're using different colors. We have the same exact music, we just have different starting points. So what's the point of transposition? Transposition is used for just changing music to make it easier, possibly, for performers, or to make it something that the composer or that an audience might like the sound of more. Some people definitely have key preferences. I know that I do. My favorite key, for example, is the key of E flat. I don't really know why. I just think that music sounds good and feels good to play when I'm in the key of E flat. Um, but also, certain instruments might struggle to play in keys like C major, even though we think of that as pretty simple because there's no sharps or flats in the key signature. Some instruments just aren't built for that. For an instrument that struggles to play in C major, it might be much easier to play in A flat major. So sometimes people will transpose to make it easier for an instrument to play, or think of vocal ranges. Not everybody can sing as low as everybody else. Not everybody can sing as high as everybody else. So transposition is another tool to try to make something fit possibly someone's vocal range the best. You can't please everyone all the time, so there's usually going to be someone who might have to deal with something a little harder. But the whole point with transposition is to try to make music fit better on an instrument or in a voice or in your ears for the composer or the audience, their own preferences for sounds. I hope that this all made sense. You have a worksheet to fill out, which, if you've been paying attention in these videos, I just pointed out that we have a lot of the same answers with the things that I was circling and writing in these documents. So hopefully you should notice a lot of the same answers in your worksheet as well. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.